Their Eyes Were Watching God by Zora Neale Hurston, Chapter 16. So on this page, consider what new character is introduced in this chapter. The season closed and people went away like they had come, in droves. Tea Cake and Janie decided to stay, since they wanted to make another season on the muck. There was nothing to do after they had gathered several bushels of dried beans to save over and sell to the planters in the fall. So Jane began to look around and see people and things she hadn't noticed during the season. For instance, during the summer, when she had heard the subtle but compelling rhythms of the Bahamian drummers, she'd walk over and watch the dances. She did not laugh the saws to scorn as she had heard the people doing in the season. She got to like it a lot, and she and Tea Cake were on hand every night till the other teased them about it. Janie came to know Miss Turner now. She had seen her several times during the season, but neither ever spoke. Now they got to be visiting friends. Miss Turner was a milky sort of woman that belonged to childbed. Her shoulders rounded a little, and she must have been conscious of her pelvis because she kept it stuck out in front of her, so she could always see it. Tea Cake made a lot of fun about Miss Turner's shape behind her back. He claimed that she had been shaped up by a cow kicking her from behind. So our new character is Miss Turner, and she's a very sickly woman, which is what they mean by she belongs to childbed. And Tea Cake makes fun of her because it sounds like she has some for instance, maybe a severe scoliosis where her spine is curved. And so Tea Cake makes fun of her, saying it looks like she's been kicked by a horse, or a cow, rather. All right, let's pick back up. She, Miss Turner, was an ironing board with things thrown at it. Then the same cow took and stepped in her mouth when she was a baby and left it wide and flat, and her chin and nose almost meeting. But Miss Turner's shape and features were entirely approved by Miss Turner. Her nose was slightly pointed, and she was proud. So while Tea Cake makes fun of how Miss Turner looks, Miss Turner actually likes the way she looks, and let's find out why. Her lips were thin. Her thin lips were an ever delight to her eyes. Even her buttocks in the bas relief were a sort of pride. To her way of thinking, all these things set her aside from other people in her community. That was why she sought out Janie to friend with. Janie's coffee and cream complexion and her luxurious hair made Miss Turner forgive her for wearing overalls like the other women who worked in the fields. She didn't forgive her for marrying a man as dark as Tea Cake, but she felt that she could remedy that. That was what her brother was born for. She seldom stayed long when she found Tea Cake at home, but when she happened to drop in and catch Janie alone, she spent hours chatting away. Her favorite subject was Negroes. So what new character is introduced in this chapter? So we're still talking about Miss Turner, and we see that she's a little bit of a problematic character. So Miss Turner, like Janie, is also a mixed race, where one of her parents was black and one of her parents was white. And Miss Turner, so we know that Miss Turner kind of has odd features and an odd body shape that Tea Cake makes fun of her for. But she likes the way she looks because she feels as though she looks whiter than the other people in her community. And because of this, she thinks that it makes her better than the other people living in the Everglades. And this is also why she wants to be friends with Janie, because Janie, remember, her mother was black but her father is white, and therefore she has different features. Her skin's a little lighter, her hair's a little straighter, and so Miss Turner likes the way that Janie looks. This is also why Miss Turner dislikes Tea Cake, because his skin is much darker and his features are different, and therefore she thinks less of Tea Cake. Now, Hurston includes this because she wants to show the discrimination that existed within her own community, and this has been written about in other writings, such as the short story The Wife of His Youth by Charles W. Chestnut, which is about this man who joined something called the Blue Blood Society, which is a group of Black and African Americans who want to assimilate into white culture and therefore kind of reject not only the appearance but also the culture of the Black community. And the story ends up showing kind of the negative outcomes of when there's discrimination within one's own community. And Hurston wants to bring that up and also show how problematic that discrimination is. And so we're going to get more into that. It's going to go on throughout the chapter. And so we'll talk more about why Hurston wants to address the issues of this discrimination. All right, let's pick back up. So this is Miss Turner talking. Miss Woods, I have often said to my husband, I don't see how a lady like Miss Woods could stand all of them common people around her place all the time. They don't worry me at all, Miss Turner. Fact about the thing is, they tickle me with what they talk. You got more nerves than me. When somebody talked my husband into coming down here, open up an eating place, I never dreamt so many different kinds of Black folk could collect in one place. Did I never would have come. I used to socialize with Black folks. My son claims they draw as lightning. They laughed a little, and after many of these talks, Miss Turner said, Your husband must have had plenty money when y'all got married. What make you think that, Miss Turner? You got to get a hold of a woman like you? You got more nerve than me. I just couldn't see myself married to no Black man. It's too many Black folks already. We oughtn't lighten up the race. Nah, my husband hadn't had nothing but hisself. He's easy to love if you mess around with him. I love him. Why you, Miss Wood? I don't believe it. You just sort of hypnotized, that's all. Nah, it's real. I couldn't stand it if he was to quit me. Don't you know what I'd do? He can take most any little thing and make summertime out it when time is dull. Then we lives off to the happiness he made till some more happiness come along. You's different from me. I can't stand Black men. I don't blame the white folks from hating 'em, 'cause I can't stand 'em myself. 'Nother thing, I hate to see the folks like me and you mixed up with them. Us ought to class off. Us can't do it. We's a mingling people, and all of us got Black kinfolk, as well as yaller kinfolk. How come you so against Black? They make me tired, always laughing. They's always too much, and they laughs too loud, always singing their songs, always cutting the monkey for white folk. If it wasn't for so many Black folks, it wouldn't be no race problem. The white folks would take us with them, the Blacks holding us back. All right, so let's talk about what Miss Turner is saying. So how severe are Miss Turner's prejudices? So we see that they're very severe and offensive. She even goes so far as to say that she doesn't blame white folk for how they're treating Black people because she feels as though that they're in the right. And so we see that Miss Turner is a very problematic character with really problematic views. And so I want us to consider, why does Hurston include Miss Turner's character? Because it's pretty difficult to believe that Janie would actually put up with the things that Miss Turner is saying. We know that Janie is stubborn and hot-headed and really passionate, and so it seems a little outside of her character that she would actually be friends with someone like Miss Turner, with how offensive Miss Turner is, where she's insulting not only tea cake, but also the community that Janie's come to love. And so why does Hurston include this relationship in there? So Hurston includes the character because she wants to make a point. She's criticizing Miss Turner's point of view. So you might notice that Miss Turner, for instance, uses the N-word a lot. So within these 2 pages, it's been used multiple times. And that's supposed to make us a little uncomfortable and wonder why she would use that so much. It's been used sparingly throughout the book when people have wanted to kind of insult somebody else, but Miss Turner uses it really casually. And that's to point out just how prejudiced she is and just how problematic it is. And so Hurston wants us to dislike the way that Miss Turner is speaking and criticize Miss Turner's point of view. And so remember that many of the characters are based upon people that Hurston knew. So the characters in here are based upon real people that she grew up with. And therefore, it's very likely that Hurston knew someone like Miss Turner during her life and disliked Miss Turner very much, and has included this character in the book in order to criticize people like that. So let's continue and see how this criticism grows. You reckon? Chorus, I ain't never thought about it too much. This is Janie speaking. But I do figure they going to want us for company. Who's too poor? Ain't the poor, it's the color and the features. Who want any old black baby lying up in the black buggy looking like a fly in buttermilk? Who wants to be mixed up with a rusty black man and a black woman going down the street in all them loud colors and whooping and hollering and laughing all over? I don't know. Don't bring me no man doctor who hang up on my sick bed. I done had 6 children, wasn't lucky enough to raise that one, and they ain't had a man that fill my purse. White doctors always get my money. I don't go to no men store to buy nothing neither. Color folks don't know nothing about no business. Deliver me. Miss Turner was almost screaming in fanatical earnestness by now. Jamie was dumb and bewildered before she clucked sympathetically and wished she had known what to say. It was so evident that Miss Turner took black folk as a personal affront to herself. Look at me. I ain't got no flat nose and liver lips. I'm a featured woman. I got white folk features in my face. Still and all, gotta be the lumped in with all the rest. It ain't fair. Even if they don't take us with the whites, they ought to make a class for ourselves. It don't worry me at all, but I reckon I got no real head for thinking. You ought to meet my brother. He's real smart, got dead straight hair. They make a delegate to the Sunday school convention, and he read the papers on Booker T. Washington and tore him to pieces. Booker T. He was a great man, wasn't he? Supposed to be. All he ever done was cut the monkey for white folk, so they pumped him up. But you know what the old folks say, the higher the monkey climb, the more he shows his behind, so that is the ways with Booker T. My brother hit him every time they give him a chance to speak. I was raised on the notion that he was a great big man, was all what Janie knew to say. He didn't do nothing but hold his back, talk about work when the race ain't done nothing else. He was an enemy to us, that's what. He was the white folks' man. According to all Janie had been taught, this was sacrilegious, so she sat without speaking at all, but Miss Turner went on. So why does Hurston include Booker T. Washington? So on this page, Miss Turner is talking about Booker T. Washington and insulting him. And so there are two modes of thought that Hurston, the author, is addressing. So Booker T. Washington was a very famous writer and speaker, and he believed that all people in the Black community should be represented in business, education, and the arts. And there is another mode of thought that was kind of led by a man named W.E.D. Boys, and he had the alternative perspective that the top 10% of the Black community should be represented, and they will bring up the rest of the community with them. And so Miss Turner is of the same mind as W.E.D. Boys, where she believes herself to be in the top 10% and therefore better than the rest of the Black community, and that it's her responsibility to bring the rest of the people up. And so she and her brother criticized Booker T. Washington. But Janie has been raised to believe that Booker T. Washington was a hero because he represented all Black people. And Hurston, our author, was a huge supporter of Booker T. Washington, and she supported his point of view and actually was part of a lot of political activism to continue on Booker T. Washington's point of view. And so Miss Taylor's position against Booker T. Washington identifies her character as someone that Hurston strongly disagrees with. And so Hurston is not only including Miss Taylor to point out how problematic her prejudice is against her own community, and the fact that Miss Taylor wants to, as she puts it, start a different group of Black people so that she doesn't have to associate with the other people in her community. But Hurston also includes this in a political point of view, where there was a lot of political disagreement within the Black community as to whether the ideas of Booker T. Washington should be followed or the ideas of W.E.D. Boys. And so my question is, why does Hurston make her point of view against people like Miss Taylor so subtle? And is it too subtle? Do you think that people would have been able to pick up on what Hurston was trying to say here? Or do you think is it too subtle for people to realize what she's doing? So let's pause here and then we'll pick back up on our second video in just a minute.